Rick. You got me. How's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for taking the time. I've been looking forward to this.
Of course. I'm glad we can line it up. Before we get rolling, I just want to do one quick thing for clarity. I'm filming some behind the scenes today. Nothing personal, no last names, no locations. Are you okay if I put you on speaker and use part of this call as a part of the BTS video about the design process?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Just keep it anonymous, please.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And at any point, if you want something cut, you just say the word.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks again, Rick. Before we get into the proposal itself now, I want to start here. What was it that made you book the call? Not just how you found D3, but what actually made you say, yes, I need to talk to this guy?
Honestly, it was the way you talk about moments being designed, not random. It felt like you weren't trying to sell anything.
That's intentional. Where did you first come across D3?
Saw a video on Facebook, then went through the site. The intimate encounter stuff really stood out.
Okay, that helps me understand where you're coming from. Here's how I run these calls. I'm going to ask some questions that are deeper than most people expect on a first conversation. Not to pry, but because the quality of the experience depends on how honest we are here. You good with that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Who is she to you?
She's home. She's the one person I trust completely. She's been with me through a lot. She deserves more than something basic.
Totally get it. Now, how long have you two been together?
Almost 5 years now.
Okay, and when things are good between you two, what does that actually look like day to day?
We laugh. We check in with each other. It feels easy. Like we're on the same team.
And when it's not good, what's usually happening then?
Well, we both get busy. Work, life, responsibilities. Sometimes it feels like we're moving fast, but not really stopping together.
That's important. That tells me the problem isn't love, it's pace. Now, let me ask you something that helps me design this right. What does she value more, attention or intention?
Intention. She notices when someone really thinks things through.
Does she like surprises?
She likes meaningful surprises, not chaos.
Does she open up when she feels seen, or does she pull back?
She opens up. You can really feel it when she feels safe.
Good. That narrows things a lot. What are you most worried about with this proposal?
I don't want it to feel generic, like I just checked the box.
That's a real fear. Let me ask you something straight. Are you proposing because it feels like the next step, or because you want to create a moment that actually anchors your future together?
I wanted to anchor us. I wanted to remember it forever.
All right. That tells me we're speaking the same language. Now let's go a layer deeper. All right, buddy. I want to understand something before we talk logistics. Tell me about a moment you two have had that still hits different when you think about it. Not the best photo moment, but the real one.
But we took this random trip. It wasn't planned. We got caught in the rain, Bones died, and we just laughed. So simple.
What made that moment stick?
Yes, we weren't rushing. You weren't trying to impress anyone. Felt like time slowed down.
That's important. That tells me the proposal doesn't need to be big. It needs to be immersive. Let me check something. When she talks about the future, does she talk more about places or about how she wants life to feel?
How it feels, definitely.
Okay, so the experience isn't about location. It's about atmosphere and pacing. Does she like things explained ahead of time, or does she trust the moment once she feels safe?
Yeah, whenever she feels safe, she would trust it.
Now the part most people skip and regret later. Is there anything I should avoid completely? Crowds, public attention, surprises that feel like pressure.
Crowds for sure. And her parents' divorce made big promises feel kinda heavy to her.
Thank you for telling me that. That means we don't design pressure, we design certainty. This moment shouldn't feel like a spotlight. It should feel like clarity.
Exactly, that's exactly what I want.
Let's lock this in. What 3 words do you want her to feel the second she realizes what's happening?
Chosen, safe, seen.
That's the spine of the experience. And this is where the experience actually takes shape. Not with ideas, but with emotional truth. Most people plan proposals around aesthetics. I plan them around memory. All right, buddy. Based on what you've told me, this would fall under our intimate encounters branch. Let me explain what that actually means so we're aligned. Intimate encounters is for moments that are private, emotionally precise, and intentional. These aren't loud experiences. They're not designed to impress a crowd. They're designed so the person inside the moment feels like everything was placed there for them. In your case, the goal isn't surprise for surprise sake. It's creating a sequence where she slowly realizes she's safe, she's seen, and she's chosen.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Good. Then we're designing for depth, not spectacle. Here's where D3 is different from planners and coordinators. I don't start with ideas, I start with structure. Every experience I design has 3 layers: emotion, environment, and sequence. Emotion is how we want her to feel at each stage. Environment is what surrounds her while that feeling is building. And sequence is the order everything happens in. Most people skip sequence. That's why most moments usually fall flat.
That makes a lot of sense.
I want to be upfront about something. If we do this, there will be parts of the process where you don't know every detail. That's intentional. Your job is to protect the intention. My job is to protect the moment. If at any point you feel like you need total control, just tell me. That usually means the experience needs to be more simple.
No, I trust that. That's why I called.
All right, that trust is what makes this work, buddy. Now let's talk about logistics and commitment. This is where people realize D3 isn't about creativity. It's about restraint. I don't overwhelm moments. I sculpt them. All right, at this point, it makes sense to talk about the practical side. Not because money is the focus, but because commitment matters in this kind of work. D3 doesn't operate on packages and tiers. I don't sell bronze, silver, gold. I design one experience around one intention. That means pricing isn't about features, it's about scope. Location, timeline, emotional depth, logistics, talent, setup, travel. All of that affects cost. What I care about most is that the budget never dictates the meaning of the moment.
It makes sense. I'm not looking for the cheapest option. I just want it done right.
Good. That's important. Because when someone is focused on minimizing cost, they usually end up minimizing the moment too. When people say spare no expense, I like to reframe it. It doesn't mean spending big just to spend big. It means we don't hesitate to invest where it actually matters. Sometimes that's location, sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's privacy or pacing. My job is to protect the emotional return on that investment.
I like that approach.
Good, because I won't waste your money, but I also won't dilute the experience to save it. Here's how the commitment part works. Before I design anything, there's a down payment. That does 2 things. First, it reserves creative bandwidth. I don't design multiple experiences at once without intention. Second, it marks a line. It tells me you're serious and ready to move forward. Once that's in place, I begin the design phase.
Okay, how much is the down payment usually?
It depends on the scope we land on, which is why I don't quote a hard number on the first phone call. After this conversation, I'll send you a range along with your intake packet. You'll see exactly what it covers, and you'll never be surprised later.
That works for me.
Good. If at any point this stops feeling aligned, we stop. I'd rather walk away early than design something half committed.
I respect that.
That's the standard here. Money filters people faster than ideas ever could. The down payment isn't about access. It's about alignment. Once the down payment is handled, the next step is the questionnaire. And I want to be clear about this part before I send it. This isn't paperwork. This is the blueprint. The quality of the experience is directly tied to the quality of your answers. If the answers are rushed, vague, or surface level, then the moment will feel rushed, vague, or surface level too. I'd rather you take a few days and really think than answer everything in one sitting just to get it done.
So this is more than just preferences and logistics.
Exactly. Some of the questions are practical, but most of them are about memory, meaning, and emotional patterns, things most people don't stop to articulate. You'll see questions like, what moments in her life made her feel the most chosen? What situations made her shut down? What does safety look like to her when nobody else is watching? What promises scare her and why? What moments in your relationship made you trust each other more?
That's deeper than I expected.
It needs to be. Because I'm not designing a surprise. I'm designing a moment she'll carry with her. When you answer the questionnaire, do it somewhere quiet. No distractions, no multitasking. This is one of those things where slowing down now creates clarity later.
I get that. I'll take more time with it.
Good. That tells me you're treating this with the weight it deserves. Most people rush the part that matters the most. The questionnaire isn't busy work. It's how I design moments that feel inevitable instead of forced. Once I receive your questionnaire and the down payment clears, I don't start calling vendors or locking locations. I stop and read. Sometimes more than once. I'm not reading your answers for ideas, I'm reading for patterns. What repeats? What's avoided? What's emphasized without being said? Those patterns tell me where the emotional leverage is.
So you're not just looking for preferences?
No. Preferences tell me what she likes. Patterns tell me who she is. That's the difference. This is usually where people ask about AI, so I'll explain it clearly. I use AI agents the way a film director uses specialists. One helps me pressure test emotional pacing. One helps me stress test logistics and constraints. One helps surface symbolic moments that might be overlooked. But none of them design the experience. They give me options. They don't make decisions.
So you're still making the final call on everything?
Always. AI can accelerate thinking. It can't replace judgment. And judgment is what protects the moment. Everything I design runs through one framework: emotion, environment, sequence. Emotion is what she feels at each stage. Environment is what surrounds her while that feeling builds. Sequence is the order those moments unfold. Most people get the first two right. Sequence is what makes it land. Sequence is why some moments feel inevitable and others feel awkward, even if they look good.
That makes a lot of sense.
This part takes time. Not because I'm slow, but because I don't rush things that matter. If something feels off, I pause. If something feels forced, I redesign it. That's how you protect a moment that only gets one chance.
I respect that.
Good. That's how this stays clean. Most people think creativity is about adding more. It's not. It's about knowing what to leave out. That's what the doctrine protects. Once the design phase starts, the way we communicate changes a little. And I want to explain that now so there's no confusion later. You're not going to hear from me every day. That's intentional. I'll reach out when there's something meaningful to discuss, or when a decision actually matters. If I need clarity, I'll ask for it. If something is locked, it stays locked.
So it's not a constant back and forth.
Right. Too much communication creates noise. Noise kills pacing. I protect the moment by protecting focus. There will be parts of the experience you know about, and parts you don't. You'll always know enough to feel confident and aligned. You won't know so much that the moment loses its power. If you ever feel uneasy about that balance, you just tell me.
That actually makes me more comfortable, not less.
Good. That tells me you understand what you're doing here. One more thing that matters more than people realize. I need to keep this tight. No group chats. No crowdsourcing opinions. No telling 5 people and letting their energy bleed into it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Moments like this lose power when too many hands touch them. Our job is to keep the intention clean. If at any point you feel unsure, overwhelmed, or second-guessing, just call me. Don't let doubt build in silence. This is a collaboration, but it's a disciplined one.
I appreciate that.
That's how this works. People think secrecy is about surprise. It's not. It's about protecting emotional momentum. All right, man. I'll send you the intake packet tonight. Deposit link, questionnaire, and a quick outline of timelines. Take your time with the answers. Once everything's in, I'll reach back out.
I appreciate this, man. Seriously.
Good. This is the right way to do it. That moment right there is where most people think the work begins. It doesn't. What begins is responsibility. This is the line. Once someone commits like this, the moment stops being hypothetical. Now it has weight. I don't skim this. I read it like a map. I'm not looking for ideas. I'm looking for signals. What repeats? What's avoided? What's emotionally charged? That's where the experience gets shaped. This is where the responsibility shifts. There's no redo on moments like this. You don't get a second chance to make it feel right. Now the real work starts. People think creativity starts with inspiration. It starts with accountability. Once money and truth are on the table, you don't get to be casual anymore. This is the part people expect: fireworks, ideas, locations, big visuals. That's not what happens first. At this stage, I'm not choosing a location. I'm not locking a date. I'm not thinking about flowers, candles, or music. Those are expressions. Expressions come after the structure. What I'm shaping right now is pressure and release. Where does anticipation build? Where does safety land? Where does certainty arrive? If I get that wrong, no location in the world can save it. I sketch emotional arcs before I sketch environments. That's the difference between something that looks good and something that feels inevitable. There's a temptation to rush here. Clients want momentum. Creators want to feel productive, but waiting is part of the craft. If an idea shows up too fast, I question it. If something needs time to clarify, I let it. That's how you avoid designing noise. Most people confuse speed with confidence. I trust ideas more after they survive a little silence. Once the foundation is set, communication becomes lighter, but more precise. That's intentional. At this stage, I'm not pitching ideas. I'm checking alignment. I want to make sure nothing has shifted since the first call. Hey, I'm just checking in. Nothing to decide yet. I'm mapping the sequence and wanted to make sure your availability window hasn't changed.
Everything's the same. I'm good.
Perfect. I'll reach back out when there's something that actually needs input. This is where a lot of planners overshare. They think transparency means showing everything. It doesn't. Transparency is about trust, not spoilers. I want the client calm, confident, and focused on intention, not second-guessing details they don't need yet. If a client asks for details too early, I slow it down. Not to be controlling, but because curiosity can collapse pacing if it's fed too soon. The moment should unfold in the right order, not all at once. At this stage, my job isn't to excite, it's to protect. Excitement comes later. Good experiences surprise people. Great ones reveal themselves at exactly the right moment. This is the part nobody pays for directly, and it's the part that determines whether the moment works. I sketch sequences, not scenes. I'm not asking where it happens yet. I'm asking when pressure rises, when safety lands, when certainty locks in. Everything else is secondary. Every idea gets tested. Does it support the emotion we're targeting? Does the environment reinforce that emotion? Does the sequence make it feel natural? If any one of those fails, the idea goes, even if it's a good idea. This is the hard part. Most people think creativity is about adding more. It's not. It's about killing ideas that were impressive, but wrong for the moment. I'd rather remove something powerful than let it dilute the experience. This is how moments stay clean. You don't remember everything that happened. You remember the one thing that mattered. Taste isn't about what you add. It's what you refuse to include. There's a moment in every build where the experience stops being theoretical. You can feel it. At this point, I'm no longer testing ideas. I'm locking the spine. The spine is the emotional truth that everything else supports. For this experience, the spine isn't the proposal itself. It's the feeling of certainty before the question is ever asked. Once the spine is clear, a few things lock in quickly. The emotional arc, the pacing, the amount of privacy, the tone. Those decisions don't change after this. They don't need to. Everything else simply aligns around them. Some things are still flexible, exact visuals, exact timing within the window, minor environmental details. Flexibility at this stage isn't indecision, it's precision. When the spine is right, the experience stops asking for attention. It holds its own weight. That's how I know it's ready to move forward. Moments don't become powerful because they're big. They become powerful because everything points to the same truth. This is where most people think the work gets easier. It doesn't. It gets quieter. Once the spine is locked, execution becomes straightforward. Not simple, but clear. Now I can bring in locations, vendors, timing, and logistics without compromising the moment. Nothing leads the design. Everything follows it. If you start with logistics, you design around constraints. If you start with intention, you design through them. That's the difference between a moment that feels forced and one that feels inevitable. I don't ask what's easiest, I ask what's correct. At this stage, there are more moving parts, but fewer decisions, because the important ones are already made. Execution isn't creativity, it's discipline. This is the point where the moment has weight. From here on out, every choice either supports the spine or it doesn't exist. Design creates clarity. Clarity makes execution calm. Once execution begins, the client's role actually gets smaller. That's intentional. At this stage, the client has three responsibilities: protect the intention, stay aligned emotionally, show up present. That's it. I don't need them worrying about timing, coordination, or contingencies. If they're stressed, the moment feels stressed. Everything else sits with me. Logistics, sequencing, backups, pressure points. If something needs adjusting, I adjust it. If something breaks, I absorb it. The client should never feel like they're managing the moment they're inside. For a proposal especially, this matters. She's not responding to the setup. She's responding to him. If he's calm, grounded, and present, the moment lands. If he's distracted or anxious, she feels it immediately. My job is to carry the weight, so the client can carry the meaning. That's the difference between planning something and designing something. Leadership in moments like this isn't about control, it's about containment. Right before a moment like this, something interesting happens. People expect nerves. What we aim for is certainty. I just want to check in and make sure one thing hasn't changed. Not the logistics, not the plan, your intention. Does this still feel like the right way to honor her?
Yeah, it feels right. I'm actually calm.
Good. That's how it should feel. If something felt off, we'd slow it down. Doubt at this stage usually isn't about the plan. It's about the weight of the moment. I don't fight that, I normalize it. If nerves show up, that doesn't mean something's wrong. It means the moment matters. The design has already done its job. You don't need to know what happens next. You just need to know when to show up and who to be. Everything else is handled.
All right, I trust it.
Good. That trust is the final piece. When the moment is designed correctly, confidence replaces control. That's how you know it's ready. The loudest moments don't come from chaos. They come from calm. This is the moment where I stop directing. Not because I don't care, but because the experience is ready to stand on its own. At this point, I give the client only what they need: where to stand, when to breathe, when to wait, nothing else. Too much instruction pulls them out of the moment. Silence is part of the sequence. It creates space for emotion to surface. If I've done my job right, nothing needs to be explained here. The moment speaks for itself. This is the part no one rehearses. He's not performing. He's present, and she feels that before anything else happens. Once the threshold is crossed, the moment no longer belongs to me. That's the goal. Design ends where presence begins. If you've done it right, you disappear at exactly the right time. After the moment passes, something interesting happens. There's no rush to talk, no need to explain. People just sit inside what just happened. That's how you know it landed. They won't remember every detail. They won't remember how long it lasted, or exactly what was said. They remember how it made them feel. Safe, chosen, certain. That's what carries forward. Life doesn't change in long speeches. It changes in moments that quietly reset the story people tell themselves. That's what this was. Not a proposal, a recalibration. Moments like this echo. They show up later in arguments, in decisions, in hard seasons. People don't say, "Remember that night?" They say, "Remember who we were in that moment." That's why I do this. Not for the reveal, for what lingers after everything else fades. Most people think this kind of work is about romance. It's not. It's about intention. It's about slowing down long enough to play something meaningful, where life usually rushes past. Anyone can plan an event. Very few people take responsibility for a moment. We live in a time where everything is fast, loud, and disposable. Moments deserve better than that. Relationships deserve better than that. If this resonates, you're not late. You're paying attention. And that's always where meaningful things start. DivineDesignDestinations.com